That's something I've never tried. I'm so anxious to see
They're
this.
easy.
Yeah. Yeah, but they're so expensive if you go to buy one, and they're not even real artisan work. You know? Is there like a certain square footage price that you would ask for your work? I know there was years ago when I took it, but I don't know. It depends, I know. There's so many variables, but...
Yeah, there are. You know, depends on what...
Yeah.
It's really hard to
Yeah. Just take a stab at it, I guess.
Okay, you're on.
Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to Glass Crafters. Today we are going to be putting together a little panel lamp, little six-sided panel lamp. I've already gone ahead and cut my pieces out. And what I usually do when I'm designing a little lamp, I decide sort of how big I want the lamp. Say I want something like a 10-inch diameter. And I will make my little panels, and you really important to use one of these. Remember these from when you were back in school? And a lot of times what I'll do, I'll put it together in cardboard just to see if it's going to work out for me, if it's the shape that I want, rather than being really squat or really narrow. So I'll make it out of cardboard just to see how it's going to look, just to get a guesstimate of what it's going to look like when it's done. I always try to do that when I'm designing my own.
What did you do then? Scotch tape those together?
They're masking tape
Okay.
inside,
Okay.
and this is just like shirt box cardboard, thin cardboard. So when I'm cutting my pieces out, it's really important that your pieces, the main thing with lamps is making sure all your pieces are exactly the same size. So a lot of times what I'll do, I'll use my strip cutter, and I can go get a strip cutter later and show you how to use it. And I'll line my pattern up so that I'm going back and forth and back and forth. So I would make one cut just like this, cut all my pieces out, and hopefully when I put them together, they're going to be the same size, same angles. It's really important to get your lamp to work. Okay, so I've gone ahead and foiled these, laid them out, and I'm going to start putting these things together. And actually, put them back together like that. I try to conserve steps here. So I'm flexing everything. Then I'm going to separate them. And I'm going to start tinning. Only time I usually do any kind of tinning is when I'm working in 3 dimensions. So tinning is a really light coating of solder.
Why do you just do this now?
I do this now because it sort of saves me a hand when I start putting it together, and I'll show you that. I'll go into a little bit more of that once I start. Sort of gives me an extra hand. So again, it's a very light coating of solder, and you can see it goes a long way.
And you're not even particular about covering every square dot of it, or not?
Not really. I want to make sure the outside is covered, pretty much. I'm going to flip these over.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
I guess you drawn your own pattern with this.
This is my own pattern, yes.
How do you know it's gonna fit? You know, the top could be.
Well, that's why I do it out of cardboard, just to see what it's going to look like.
So you know the measurement before starting.
Yeah, I decided I'm going to make it where the top is about 1 inch and the bottom is about 4.5 inches, and then I want to make sure that these angles are exactly the same. So when I draw my pattern up, I'm going to use that.
But you have to get your vase cap to make sure that you
Well, I tried a vase cap on this before.
Oh, okay, so you go with the vase cap depending on...
Right.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we'll use
That
one of
gives
these
you an
might be
idea of
too
the,
small. That's probably gonna be the one.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay, even if it's a little bit bigger, I'll make it
Like
work.
Okay.
on this one, you wouldn't be able to use the 6.
No, because this one is a little too small.
It's too
I
small.
tried it, it's too small. We have a 6-sided lamp cap that, if I was designing it for that lamp, I would have made the top of the lamp equal to what that
Yeah.
6-sided lamp is. Maybe a little bit smaller just so it fits right over it.
They make bigger ones of these things, right? Or prototypes.
Yeah,
Because what if you made a bigger lamp, you would need a bigger one of those?
you mean this?
Yes.
No, as long as you got your,
As long as you have a
Your
straight
angle.
edge ruler.
Oh, okay.
And all these rules in geometry, we're going to be using them in a little bit.
I was good in geometry.
Okay, so you're going to be good at making lamps.
I like that a lot better than algebra.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to tin the sides.
Donna, you have 12 people watching online.
Okay, welcome everyone. And I numbered these before I laid them out on a light box just to see the colors, just so the colors sort of go together. So tinning.
So for everybody online, if you have any questions, you can type them right into the comment box, and I will read them aloud to Donna so she can answer your questions. Also, be sure to let us know where you are, and give us a thumbs up if you like what's going on.
Yes, we like thumbs up.
Yeah, I saw a lot of those going by this morning on the
Right?
demo. Yeah.
Carolyn is in Arizona.
All right, welcome Carolyn. Okay, almost there. Now, what I should say is that everybody does stained glass a little bit differently. I've been doing it for a pretty long time, so you should pick up the best tips from everyone. I know as far as making lamps, a lot of times the books tell you to use tape. I don't like using tape. I never find that it works for me. So what I've started doing when I'm putting my lamp together is I make sort of a grid. Okay? I am making a 6-sided lamp. So I have made a circle, and a 6-sided lamp, our circles are 360 degrees. So I'm going to divide that up using my, there we go, yep, using that to have my grid where I'm going to set this up. Okay, so all of my angles are going to be 60 degrees. I would go get a straight edge, I would mark off 60 degrees, have my lines come through, and then connect the lines. Okay, so that's for a 6-sided lamp. I've done a couple of others. If you're making an 8-sided lamp, same process, you're going to have 45-degree angles. Okay, 10-sided lamp, 360 degrees, you're going to make 36-degree angles and connect them. Okay, so what that gives you is a little bit of a grid work or layout so that you can put your lamp together. I'm going to use some of our layout blocks, and I really only need 2 of them to get that angle.
You have Shelley from Saskatchewan, Canada.
All right, welcome Shelley. Okay, that's really all I need. I've tinned all my pieces. I'm going to start putting them together. So, and I wear my glove because it sort of acts as a pot holder.
And your friend Mary Lawrence says hello.
Hello, Mary. Okay, so I'm going to line these up right into that angle there. Now the reason I tinned everything beforehand is because now I don't have to have my solder, grab my flux brush, grab my iron. Everything is fluxed already. It has a little bit of solder on it. So I can just take my soldering iron
Just
and
to
tack
tack
this.
it?
Mm-hmm. I'm going to move it over. I find number 3. Sort of butt those edges up together at an angle. Tack it at the top and bottom. And at this point, look at that, it stands up by itself. Move it around. We're going to do number 4. And sometimes I forget and I go to pick the flux brush up, but you
That's
really...
better than with the tape, because I used the tape before.
I don't like using the tape. I find that
And
for me it
it's-
collapses.
Yeah, it's not that easy.
Okay, so we're putting this together, lining it up. And again, the glove sort of acts as a pot holder for me. And because you're just tacking a little bit at a time, hopefully this will fit. And you can sort of bend it out a little bit. It's very flexible at this point. We can play around with this to make it fit. And I'm going to have to play around with this because my edges are not meeting up real well. So see, you can see that things happen to us too. You can see right there, it's not really meeting up. So I'm going to just adjust this a little bit. I'm going to untack this one. That's why you don't want to put a whole lot of solder on it. You want to be able to move it if you can. Okay, and I've got this thing all tacked together. So, we're going to start soldering it. I'm going to do the inside first. And a lot of times what I'll do is, you can use these candy wedges. You can use them to block your pieces up. Sometimes people put it in a box or something like that. A lot of times I'll just use some solder, rolls of solder. And I'm just going to give this a light coating inside.
So it's the same technique as you taught us yesterday.
Yes. I do need a little more flux here.
I have a question about your glove. Is that some sort of special glove?
It is not. It is a gardening glove that you can get at
Costco, they sell them.
Costco. You can get it at Walmart. Gardening gloves, any kind of garden center. It has the rubber on it, so it does prevent a little bit of if your solder drips. Better than the skin.
And could you please explain again about the tool you have on the table that you were butting the glass up against?
These are called layout blocks. And these are metal strips that you can butt up right against your panels. If you're doing a regular panel, you can frame it out with that. It has holes in here to accept push pins. And we work on homosoap boards, so it's nice and soft and it will accept those pins. So I just laid these layout blocks according to the angle of my lamp. And again, if I were doing a full panel, I would frame the whole panel with the layout blocks. They come in all different sizes. So
I
they
bought
are
the big
real
ones.
nice to have.
Yesterday I bought the big set of those. Could you still use those even though it's a smaller project, or do you need to buy
If you're
different
just
sizes?
if you're just using it for the two sides,
Yeah.
you can.
I know they'd
But
be
it
way
is
too
certainly
big.
easier with the smaller ones if you're doing a lamp. Yeah, you wouldn't want to try to, do 3 angles with it because then it really wouldn't work.
I find the 12 inches are the best.
Yeah,
And you can use those small and add it.
I should have gotten those. They have these here.
Because I have like
We
the
do,
age
we have all
24.
of them here.
That's long.
But they won't let me trade them back in.
You haven't opened it?
No, I haven't opened it,
Sure.
but it's at home. But I live nearby.
Okay.
But
you
I
could
would
certainly bring
rather
them back.
have the ones that are more functional that you can use with different things.
Yeah. I really like the small one. You come in a box. And you
The
have
12
like
inch?
really short one.
Yeah.
In fact, we use all of
Do you?
them. Yeah,
No, I don't like the 24 inches.
only depends on the size
Well,
of
it
your
depends.
project.
If you're doing a big
always-
window,
Yeah.
24-inch window, you want those
I
because
have
they're
them,
nice
but
and
I
straight.
don't really
That's
like
why I got those, because I usually do bigger pieces,
Big-
so maybe I should keep those and just get
Just get some
the
smaller
small
ones also.
Yeah.
Depends on what you're going to be making. You decide after this demo that you're going to be doing lots of lamps.
I've never done a lamp, so I'd like to try one.
And again, the main thing with the lamp is making sure that all of your angles are pretty much
So
exactly.
you've got those pieces from the same.
This was done out of 2 pieces.
Or 2 pieces.
Yeah, normally I would sit with this on my lap. I'm going to have to prop this up a little bit. I usually sit with a nice great big shop apron. Well, actually, I'll do that now. And I want it nice and flat.
Don't drop it.
And the shop apron definitely works. And a lot of times I use 50-50 solder. I tend to solder fairly quickly, and the 50-50 melts at a higher temperature. But if I'm using 60-40, I turn my temperature down on my iron because I find it drips through a lot.
So 50-50 melts faster?
It melts at a higher temperature.
Okay.
60-40 melts faster. And sometimes that melts too fast for me unless I'm turning my iron down.
But that also means that the 50-50 will set up more quickly. It'll cool very quickly. So if you're moving quick, and you don't want to leave all that liquid solder behind, the
I've had pretty
50-50
good luck with the
sets up
60-40,
faster.
but I don't have the thermostat, so it gets pretty hot.
You might want to get yourself a temperature controller because it really does help. If you wanted to have, I usually always recommend it. It definitely helps, especially if you start doing any kind of lead work or anything like that also, because the lead itself melts at a lower temperature. So being able to turn your iron down or up, it's really beneficial for you.
So it's an attachment to...
Yeah, you can get a separate temperature
'Cause I bought
controller
it
to plug
here.
your iron
I
into.
got the Weller one, but it didn't have a thermostat.
The blue one?
No, red.
The red one?
Yeah, you can get a temperature controller. I think George is going to get one now to show you what it looks like.
because I thought about just getting another one, but if that's kind of cost prohibitive, because I
Well,
just
it's-
bought the other one.
I got the controller,
Yeah.
the one
Yeah,
that
it
it
works
just got,
just
and it
fine.
works very good. I have the blue one, willow blue, and I've got this one.
Yeah,
You have
This
the
is what we were.
yeah.
I like
And I
the
have that
smaller,
controller, and it's very good.
I like using a small tip.
I like the smaller
So it's all individual preference on what size you want to use.
That's something like
Well,
$25,
that's-
something
yeah.
like that.
Yeah, but aren't those $99 or something, like the one she's using?
This one is an expensive iron, but
Yeah.
I always used to use, actually before this one came out, I used to use one of the really cheap irons.
Yeah.
You know, not cheap, inexpensive iron, but I had a temperature controller, so it worked really well.
Yeah.
It's just a nice
Buying
add-on
this
to
would be
have.
cheaper than buying this, and I have
Yeah,
a brand
since
new
you
one
have
of those.
Yeah, if you have a brand new
This works
iron,
fine.
just get one of the temperature controllers.
Do you use this?
Oh, yeah, it's
Oh yeah, I have this, and it's very good.
Okay.
And it works with these two irons as well.
Yeah. I got the red one.
Yeah, you can plug any iron into that.
Can you put smaller tips in these?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yes.
That's big things. I like that that's easy to handle. It's small. One of these days,
Small and lightweight.
when I get wealthy, I'm going to buy
Come
one.
on in.
Hello.
Hi. You can come in. I signed for you.
Okay, we have a couple more sides here.
easier than I thought.
So now you're gonna go home and make some lamps. I want you to see. I want you to bring them back in and let us see them.
Well, we have to bring them back from Quebec, so.
That's all
Maybe
right.
I'll
Next
send you a
time.
picture.
Okay. We like show and tell
I'm
here. We like
supposed
to
to send
see.
Gina some picture when they're gonna be done.
We like show and tell. We like all our customers and students to send us pictures and show us how they're doing. And also, if you have any questions, to certainly feel free to contact us if you have any questions about anything. We do try our hardest to get you an answer.
Is that on your main page? The contact information, or like how you would do that?
That should be, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
At the bottom of every page, there's the address, the phone number, the email address. Donna, what kind of glass are you using?
This is Kokomo glass.
How did you put it together before you started? I wasn't here to see. Sorry. Did you tape it or you?
No,
No.
I can go over that real quickly again in a couple of
Oh,
minutes.
sorry.
You see
You
these?
can't? Or you can't?
Well, I had all my pieces cut out.
Yeah, I saw that, but then I was busy getting
Okay.
the glasses.
I do it like this, where I make a circle, and depending on how many sides of the lamp I'm doing, I make my angles. So for a 6-sided lamp,
Yes.
I'm using a, where'd it go? Poke at it.
It's under there, I think.
Compass and
Yes.
protractor, and I'm marking off my angles.
Right.
So for an 8-sided lamp, you divide 8 into 360. You have
Okay.
45-degree angles, and I'm making a
Eight,
grid
eight.
work. And then when I set it up, I just line my
Which
pieces
Kokomo
up
is she using? Is it the purple?
and tack it at the top and bottom. And then it starts by the 3rd section. It stands up on its own. I don't use the tape.
Oh.
Did you get
Oh.
that? Show her with this, like she goes
Okay,
like
so
like
you just
this.
do
Yeah.
first the two
Yeah.
piece.
I
And then-
tack them. I tin everything first.
Oh, okay.
Because it makes it a little bit
Yes.
easier. I don't have to start with my flux brush and my
Exactly.
solder
I know,
and my
because-
soldering iron. So I flux everything first, and I hold the 2 pieces together, and I tack it at the top and bottom.
Yes.
And then I move it around,
And
and I
then-
put the next section together. So it works a little bit easier than working with, I find, with the tape.
Tape.
I don't like
Because I
using the
always do
tape.
tape.
I don't have luck with the tape.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have our lamp. What I'm going to do is just beat up the bottom edge. And this is another reason to use wear the glove. I'm going to unroll my solder out, and I'm going to start putting a bead on this. And you can also do, for a bigger lamp, you can put wire, tins wire. But I'm going up and down, just to create a nice beaded edge on this. But
But
you
if
will
you
always
would
have
put-
to have it level.
If you would put the wire, where would you put it? You would
You would
do
put it
all
right
the-
along the bottom. You would put it right in the middle, and you can solder over that.
You just hold it as you go then?
You hold it
Like
as
a
you go.
16,
That's
16
nice.
or
Also, like a
20?
And what's that, just to stabilize it more?
if you wanted to, for like a bigger lamp.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it for this one. But if I were doing this, I would put it right in the middle. And this is good to reinforce anything also.
Oh, and then
And I would go along and
You would solder all over.
all
You
around.
tack it first and you,
I usually try to tack it first.
okay.
And then you'll do the whole thing? Coat the whole thing with the...
If I wanted that extra,
Yeah,
okay?
right.
So then what I would do is bead this whole thing up afterwards. I'm not going to do this whole lamp now, but,
It makes a
It's
real
okay.
difference when you put
well,
that
it will
wire?
make it a lot stronger. So not so much for a little lamp like this, but if you're doing a bigger lamp, it will give you a nice finished edge. You can't even tell that there's wire underneath it.
Okay.
Just
You
have to-
just put more solder.
you're just putting more solder and you're beating up an edge.
yeah.
Okay, see how that looks?
Okay.
Yeah.
So right in the middle,
You don't see it at
and you
all.
bead that up. So again, if you're making like a big 20-inch lamp or something like that, and you want that extra reinforcement, you can put that along the whole bottom. You can even go with a, this one is a 20 gauge, you can go with a 16 or 18 gauge wire, and you'll build up a nice rounded edge on that.
You put it on top also?
Thank you.
On top of the lamp?
No, you don't
No?
have to, because you're going to put your cap on there.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I can't stay. We're going to Tampa, but this is neat. Thank you.
This will be on Facebook, so you can watch
Oh,
it afterwards.
Okay,
Okay?
thanks. Yes, thank you.
But,
Thanks a lot.
oh, you're welcome. So I'm not going to wire the whole thing right
No.
now, just to show you what that looks like. But I will bead this. And again, the gloves are really good to act as a pot holder because you always have to keep it level.
So I wanted to share with you that your Weller 100 is also controlled, the temperature controlled by the tip. That's a 700 degree tip. They sell the 600 and the 800 degree tips also that you can substitute with. But if you keep it plugged in, it's consistently 700 degrees.
All right. I didn't know.
You plug it into your rheostat, you can make it cooler, of course, but it's not going to get hotter.
So it comes with what?
The 700 degrees.
When it-
700?
Yeah, and I don't like that one. I
It's
never
wide.
used it.
It's a bit wide.
I- It's so big.
Because I have that one, and it's big.
This one,
I have
Do you know what I do? It gets too hot sometimes. I unplug it and let it cool down and use it, and then I gotta plug it back in and wait for it to heat back
yeah,
up.
well, with
There you
this
go.
Well, you
You're the
definitely-
rheostat.
can adjust it.
You need,
I am.
definitely
That,
need
you
that.
definitely need the rheostat.
Yeah.
Because it'll start running through to the other side because it's getting so hot.
Yes.
And it's like,
And I was told depending, you could be in a house and you would need it more hot, you know.
Depending on the demand
yeah.
from the,
Yeah.
circuit.
Appliances, uh-huh.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But this one, the bit there is what?
That's the
Is it the
316.
316?
316. It doesn't come the 316 for the.
And
This
didn't you
one.
buy
Well, you
one?
can get a 1/4 inch one.
I have the quarter. The
What's
quarter
this
and the
one?
other one is 1/8, which is
Is this a
Really
half an
narrow.
inch?
really,
I'm
really.
sorry?
Is this a half
That one's a
inch?
3/8 inch.
How does that little one fit in there? The hole looks like it would be too
The
big.
shaft, it's the shaft size.
Oh, okay.
3/8 is big.
Yeah, it's way big. It's like, it like totally covers the soldering.
That's what I
Yeah, I like a smaller tip.
But the real small one, the 1/8, I never used it. But
Yeah, I usually use
Why
a
would
quarter
I?
inch. Well, it depends. Some people like to do decorative beading, or if they're doing really tiny pieces, like little jewelry pieces, they do like to use
Quarter
those.
and a 1/8.
yeah, that's the two I
The
have.
quarter is the good one though, right? Is that what you're using, Donna?
Well, this one is a
She's using
3/16.
Close to a quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have this one, but I don't know why I would use the 1/8.
Again, everybody works a little bit differently,
Yeah.
so you have to find what works best
There's
for
one
you.
tip with a little groove in it.
Yes.
Why is that? You put your solder in? Is that the
I
reason
think
why?
it's for decorative soldering.
It's for decorative soldering, and they call it a beading tip.
Okay, don't let me come back in this store like anymore.
I saw also, I think it's in your catalog, that there's a grinding bit with an angle
Yeah, that's the one we.
when you do lamps.
Quarter inch? 3/8.
No, that's the,
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah?
Beading
Ever
bit.
use this?
No,
No?
I don't.
The ripple
Not
bit?
usually. There is a ripple bit that will
But that
take
that
down.
goes only on the blue one.
If you're using
Okay.
very thick architectural
Yeah.
glass, it will take both edges down so that the
Okay,
glass
so
will
when you
fit
put it at
into
an angle.
fit into your lead cane,
Okay,
or for you to foil.
okay.
There are lamp bits also that will bevel your edge a little bit. I have not used those. But the ripple bit works really well if you're using a
Yeah,
using the really thick glass. I've used that many times.
So that one goes up to 900 degrees.
Yeah, it sure does.
And you can dial it down with the rheostat. Right, there's no control. It's going to go
It
right
goes
to
up
900
1,000.
degrees. This one will go to 1,000.
Yeah.
And this one's unique because it's an electronic temperature control, and those are all rheostat controlled. So it's just,
They don't work as good?
it's older technology.
Yeah.
yeah, because when I bought mine, you don't have that one.
I'm thinking by the time I buy all this stuff, I should just buy that one.
That's frequently our recommendation.
Yeah, what's nice about it, it's a really lightweight iron. So if you have any trouble with your hands, I know I've had trouble with carpal tunnel, things like that. It is, you can
Yeah, this one does
Just
seem a
hold
bit
it.
awkward.
you can see how light
Oh,
it
I
is.
like that. I really
It's
do.
really light.
That's nice, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I've literally had this one going all day for a big panel that I was doing, and I turned it off for maybe half an hour to grab some lunch, and the thing just kept going. It was a great iron. Heats up really quickly,
Yeah, that's neat.
so we love it.
Does the handle get hot?
No, it does not.
So you use a different temperature for the different grades of solder?
I usually keep my iron turned up pretty hot.
Yeah.
I'm going
Yeah,
at
but you're
about
fast.
800 degrees, but I solder really quickly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
some
see,
of my
someday-
coworkers keep theirs a little bit lower. You have to see what works best for you. You have to play around with it a little bit.
There are different brand names of solder. They're all equal?
There
or-
are, basically they're all, some might be melt a little cleaner than the others, but they all work really well.
What do you mean by they melt cleaner?
Well, what is that
Sometimes
what
you might
causes
have a little bits in the solder.
black
Okay.
spots, right? Like little black.
Sometimes
things
that's
in
from
there.
using too much flux.
I think I do that.
I don't use a lot of flux. I really wipe my brush off As
Yeah,
you
it
saw that
makes a
yesterday, I don't use a
And
lot
then
of
you have like
flux.
splatters all over
Yeah.
the place.
Yeah,
Lots of
that's,
flux.
I
try
think I must be
using
doing
less
something right because
flux.
it's just boiling here, and yeah. I
Try
need to-
using less flux.
I
You
noticed-
see how much I use it,
I
and when I
noticed
do use it, I make sure I really wipe it off. I don't use a lot of flux when I'm working.
So double dipping is not working for me.
Yeah, you don't want to double dip. Doing glasswork and having snacks.
So you think it's too much flux that's making the black dots in the solder?
Sometimes that could be. Sometimes if you're working on, you know, a board that's not really clean, it's going to pick up some of the stuff from there also. Okay, so as far as our cap, that's probably, that one's going to be too small. We're going to use this one.
Years ago, we had some cheaper solder makers that had more impurities in the metal that would give you those kinds of spots. But
Well, I bought
for the
mine
last
here.
dozen years, it's sort of all been very
I got
clean.
that Camfield. Solder.
Canfield's very clean.
I know, I'm doing something else to make
No,
it be
it goes all around.
Okay, so
So then you have to know how big the thing is on the top so that you can measure your lamp accordingly,
that's
right?
another reason
Yeah.
why when I'm designing my own, most of the
Right.
ones, if you take your pattern out of a book, they're going to tell you what size cap
Yes,
works for you.
right.
But if you're designing your own, I always make it in cardboard just so that I
Right.
can get some
But
kind of
you
idea.
should be somewhere close. I mean,
Yeah.
you know what size those things come in,
Mm-hmm.
so you kind of aim for that.
Okay, so this is a brass cap. So I'm just going to be able to solder this right on here. I don't normally tin my caps because the brass will take the black patina. If I have time, we will do a little patina job on this.
You don't cover the, with the solder, because you're gonna put black patina on it?
I'm going to put patina on this.
On the gold part?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think when I did my lamp, I put the black patina on, but I still did the,
You tinned it first.
yes,
You don't really have to.
I don't have to.
It may not come out exactly the same color, but it will make it darker.
But you don't have to, right? I mean, if you like the gold
Oh,
color,
you can leave it like this. That's fine.
just look funny though, wouldn't it? Silver and gold.
You know, they're mixing metals in a lot of things
Yeah.
these days, so you don't have to. It's your lamp. You're the artist.
It would look funny, I think, silver and gold.
Okay. I've got my lamp. Got a couple of little spaces that I may go over that with later, but I want to just show you how I would patina this and clean it.
What does that one have on top of it down there?
That's another, this is to make like a pendant lamp to hang from your, in your kitchen. So it has a bigger opening, and this is an older one, and this one has the light that screws in so that it hangs
Okay.
as a pendant drop lamp. Okay, so when I'm ready to clean my lamp, I'll take my board off of here, just work on the paper. I have a little bucket of water here, and I use some scrubby pads. If I could get the gloves on, that would help. I'm going to use a little dishwashing liquid. And I'm just gonna wash this thing off. Get all my flux off, get all the grease off from the flux. And if I had access to a sink, which I do here, but I'm not going to use the sink because this is how I would do a big panel. I do it on my table with a bucket of water. Get all my solder balls off of here. Normally I don't dry my pieces, but I am going to just wipe all the soap suds off. And then I'm going to take a second pad and wet it. And I'm going to do my patina. And hopefully it will come out nice and even. A lot of times it's not going to come out really black, but that's okay. I don't mind it being like the brown color. It makes it look old.
But if you would have put the solder, would it?
The problem with tinning the pieces, the caps, is it doesn't always come out evenly. You always get all those wrinkles on it. So I would rather just patina the brass. Because my patina doesn't come out real black anyway. It comes out more a darkish brown, which I'm happy with. I don't like a real dark black.
So, but you use it on a damp sponge.
I do.
I put it on just on a cloth, and it comes out darker.
Does it?
Yeah. Without diluting it at all.
Yeah, I just like it. I like
And
the
I
look
like
of
that
this.
color, yeah. With that, I think it looks great. I like it. It does kind of give it an aged look. Now, where do you get the lamp base?
We have them here. We sell them here. I mean, you can also, you know, if you find any, if you have an old lamp at home and you wanted to make a lamp for it, or Goodwill is always a good source of stained glass bases.
So it would take, you could use just an ordinary lamp. It's not a specialty item, especially for this. Well, how do you attach the shade to the?
Well, this would go right on top of your lamp. It would sit on the harp.
Okay.
Most of your lamp bases will have a harp, and that will sit right on top of it.
All right. That's the thing with the, it has the three wires that go out on it?
No, the harp is
Oh, there
Look,
you
right
go.
You
over there.
can see them,
You can
they're
see.
right on the
yeah,
top
they're right
there.
on. Can
Oh,
you?
yeah,
I'm
the
going-
top thing that screws on.
I'm
Yes.
gonna go and get one.
Okay, so we have our lamp. I'm going to just wipe this down a little bit again. Oh, he's getting a base. Thank you. So that's the harp. He's going to get a base and we'll put it right on top of it. I'm going to just wash this again using the sponge. There you go.
That's just one.
This is going to be too tiny, but that's fine. We can show you how it would look. A little too tiny, but that would sit right on top of that.
Okay. Okay.
Okay? So again, you're gonna test different lamps bases to see which one will work best for you. All right, so that's our finished lamp. At this point, I would polish this up, really clean it a little bit more, and we are all set. You got your lamp.
All right.
Okay, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
You made that look very good.
I'm sorry? No. Thank you.